Okay, welcome back. So now we're going to be sewing the ruffle to the skirt. So they want it done at 5/8 of an inch seam allowance, so I have that set up. This is thick, so I'm using that bump jumper, makes life a little bit easier. So now we are going to needle down and we're going to back stitch. I'm starting to run out of thread, so I have to check how much thread I have. Anyways, so we are going to sew. Take your time with this. And just take your time, slow sew right to the end. Don't forget to back stitch. All right, I'm coming up to a thicker part. So just be careful. One thing that I want you to be mindful of is the apron piece. Make sure that it is laying flat under the machine. I noticed that mine was starting to fold a little bit underneath. So make sure that you are being careful. Okay, so I have the ruffles sewn to the apron. So now what we're going to do is we are going, before we pull out our basting stitches, what you are going to do is you are going to press this seam up towards the apron, okay? And I'm gonna do it from the right side. And I like to kind of pull and tug at the ruffle a little bit. There's my seam ripper, I was looking for that earlier. Okay. Sorry, the camera's shaking a little bit. All right. Now what we're going to do is we're going to press the ruffles. Now when we're pressing the ruffles, we want to be pressing up into here. Use some steam. We were going to put a little decorative something or other, so I think I'm going to put the bias binding down here just to kind of give it a nicer look. I need to fix that up a little. And what it will do is it will also hold that seam allowance up. All right, so now I am going to get ready to sew my binding on. Now that's what I'm choosing to do. You might want to do the rickrack if that's what you did. I would say kind of keep it the same throughout. You might also choose not to put anything here, which is totally fine as well. However, if you notice your seam, chances are it's looking like this. It's not a very nice look. So what I want you to do, if you're choosing not to attach the bias binding, I want you to either use a little hand stitch, okay, or sew your seam allowance from the ruffle. Sew a stitch on the machine over top of this stitch here, okay? And it will hold that seam allowance in place and it won't look like that, okay? So that's what I would do. So you probably will have to do that on both ends. Yeah, definitely have to do it on both ends. I am going to sew the binding over top. Okay, so I'm gonna do that. You're gonna do, if you choose to do that, you're gonna do it exactly the same way as you did on the pocket. If you choose to use the rickrack, then you're gonna do it exactly the same way as you did on the pocket, okay? Here's a tip while I'm getting this set up. I am using my bias tape to cover the seam allowance of the ruffle. And if you have any imperfections, it will hide it. So I do quite like how that looks, okay? So I'm going to cover up that seam. Also fold your bias binding in on itself so that you have a nice clean finish and no raw edge sticking out. So not like that, like that, okay? So I'm gonna get that all pinned and then I'm gonna sew it. All right, I am back. Now we are going to do our straps. So I have pinned my straps in. Now here are your match points. So you should hopefully be able to see a little bit of the marking. I can see it. You might not be able to see it on the video, but I can see it right here. And I am matching that with the marking that I have on the other side. So the edge of the strap is right alongside, whoops, can't see nothing because of my fat hands. So the edge of my strap is matched along with X. Okay, so now what you're gonna do is you're gonna stitch these down, and I would do it at 1/4 of an inch, and you're gonna do the same on both. So 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. I'm not going to backstitch. Well, maybe I will actually, just in case. But they should hold. Okay, that's one. Okay, trim your threads. Okay, so here is what we are going to do. We are going to grab our tape measure or a seam gauge, and you are going to fold this down. If you need to, measure. My markings are pretty clear. If yours aren't, we are measuring down an 1.25 inches. You're going to pin this, bent pin. If you find any bent pins, throw them out. think we're gonna pin this right here actually. So I'm just gonna pin here, and I'm just gonna pin baste. Now pin basting, you heard me say this a few times. I'm just weaving the pin in and out of the fabric. Just like that. And you're gonna do the same on the other side. So you want to match up the curves right there, okay? Because remember, our pattern kind of goes out like this, so when you fold it down, those curves should match, okay? And it should be about 1/4 of an inch as well. I'll just double check that. 1 1/4 inches. Oh, it is not. Let me just double check this one. Good thing I checked. All right, so now what we're going to do is we are going to sew on top of this stitch right here. We are going to sew right on top from beginning to the end. Okay, so now that I have that sewn down, what we're going to do is we are going to flip this over. You should have your needle and thread ready because we are going to baste this down. Okay, now pull out the straps. Okay, and I recommend that you press this. What we're doing is we are creating a facing. Now what I would recommend is that you leave about 1/8 of an inch from the top of the apron. And this is going to give our apron some structure. Okay, get your needle and thread. And I want you to baste this down so it's easier to stitch later. I think I'll zoom in a little bit. There we go. I especially want to make sure that these straps are held down so that they don't shift on me when I start sewing, because that is going to be a nightmare. Actually, hold on, I'm going to move you over to the other side. Now I'm just going to secure this. And that is what it looks like from the right side. Right there. Okay, so now we are going to talk about how to stitch it. Okay, I've made an executive decision. This is where creativity is going to come in. I am going to use my bias tape to give it a nice finish on the top so it matches the other 3 trims that we did. and I am going to apply it about 1/8 of an inch from the top to, or maybe 1/4 inch, to mirror the pocket that we did. Hold on, there we go. So it's about 1/4 of an inch right there. So I'm gonna do exactly the same thing on the top. And what I am gonna do is, I think I'm gonna fold this over like that, okay? So I'm just going to fold this in on itself, just so I have a nice finish on the other side. Now, if you want, you can draw a line for yourself to match up the edge of the tape. If you are not sure, all right, we are done. We are going to give the apron a final press. All right, here is our apron completed. Okay, I'm really happy with how the trim turned out. We have our pockets right here. This is how the top turned out. It looks really good. And then I'm just gonna turn the mannequin around. And then here is the back. So tie a nice little bow on the top and on the bottom. Okay, now here's how I'm going to be grading you. So I want to see nice straight seams. If you have done any trim, I am going to be looking that the stitching is nice and even and straight depending on how you sewed it. Okay, meaning like if you used 1/8 of an inch right here, I expect it to be 1/8 of an inch on both sides, okay, as best as you can. I want to see that the ruffle matches the edge of the apron body, okay, so it's not sticking out. I am looking to see that threads are snipped, that you don't have any dangling threads. And I'm also going to be looking to see your seam finishes, however you choose to do it, either with a serger or let's say a zigzag stitch. I'm going to be looking to see that the hem is nice and even and straight depending on how you finish the hem. I used a blind hem stitch, so I'm going to be looking to see that they are more or less evenly spaced apart right here. And overall finish, okay? So that is how you will be graded, okay? So when you've completed your apron, go hang it on a hanger in the storage room so that it can be marked, okay? So that is your very first sewing project, and if you've persevered, well done.